So yeah, he unleashes the storm of vengeance upon thee. Farewell. And then just
Okay,
busts a
before
load right on Optimus's face.
so anyone watching, it's 1926 if you want to go to Tubi and watch Beast Wars, Tubi TV. He is holding his gun between his legs. Before I said it was the camera angle, he is okay, how did they did that on purpose? You don't aim a gun by he's holding it between
Like
his legs.
swaying it around, like
It is right between his
fucking
yeah,
dick
and it's like
laser.
half turgid. Okay, you were right. I thought it was like the camera. Okay, I'm with you on this one.
So yeah, he blows his load right in Optimus Prime's face, and
Knocks his block off.
Alert. Quantum surge detected. Vector 597.
Transformers, robotic life forms born far across the galaxy on the planet Cybertron. Two groups of their forces crashed on an unknown planet. A quantum surge then changed the Beast Warriors into Transmetals, who are joined by new comrades. Now, the Beast Wars rage on!
Too much energon.
Greetings, Praetorians and Maximilians. Welcome to another episode of Too Much Energon, a Lasercomb production, the podcast where two 90s kids talk about the animated TV series Beast Wars, also known in Canada as Beasties. I am one of your hosts. Beasties! I am one of your hosts, NeoCal, and I am joined by the infamous Christopher Siege. How are you, sir?
I did enjoy that video game back in the day. Infamous on PlayStation 3.
Wow, PS3. We're on 5 now, or 7, I don't know.
PlayStation 9 with nanotube technology.
Nanotube technology. So it's still a DualShock controller. It just connects to you like Borg, like the Borg, like little wires.
Yeah, you just have like straight up like PlayStation 1 and PS1/PS2 like controller ports in you, and you just plug it in.
Like the plugs in to go jack yourself into the Matrix.
Yeah. And then Psycho Mantis is like
I see you like playing Crash Bandicoot.
I see you've played Castlevania and masturbated to it.
Oh God.
That's good. Yes.
That's good. Tonight on this Castlevania podcast, we are reviewing episode 13, season 2 of Beast Wars, The Agenda, part 3, which is also the finale of season 2.
Yep.
And boy, is it a finale.
There is a lot to unpack here. There is so much to unpack here that I'm actually kind of glad that it's getting its own episode of the podcast.
Yeah, it needs it. It deserves it. Damn it.
Yeah.
When did this originally air? It aired March 13th, 1998. So we're just a few years late on covering this one.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
Just a tad. You know.
Yeah. Better late than never.
24 years hence. Cheers.
No time at all when you're sleeping inside of the Ark. No.
4 million years, you know.
Yeah. 4 million years, give or take.
Yeah.
Couple dozen thousand.
Yeah, when it gets to that point, it doesn't even really matter anymore. 4,000,002 years. Cheers.
Yeah. So, do you remember where we left off?
We left off with...
I think it was Ravage ended up seeing Megatron's like grand scheme and like joining his side.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So at the end of the agenda part 2, Ravage was all like Decepticons forever, and then transformed into a cassette tape, and apparently the Klingon bird of prey has a cassette deck in it for some reason, even though this is like 4,300,000 years in the future. Cheers. Cassettes are still a thing, apparently, at that point. And then, yeah, the episode ends with Megatron standing on the nose of the Klingon bird of prey, and Optimus, like, comically, like, screaming into the camera. Which is the show art for these episodes.
Why is he on the ship? It's badass, don't get me wrong. But shouldn't he be in it? He can fly, so I guess.
He can fly.
Dramatic. He has a flair for the dramatic.
Yes, he's very theatrical. He also has his dick laser, which I guess can add more firepower.
You can't let that go, can you? You hate that.
I don't like it at all. I can't wait until he gets another form.
Well, Cheetor can't even use a gun. He has to, like, put his paws together and shoot, like, cat energy beams. And he has, like, an axe that he used exactly one time.
Well, maybe his time to shine is still to come.
We can only hope.
Mm-hmm. So the episode opens exactly where the last episode left off with wow. Okay, so I just did a quick freeze frame. So Megatron is on top of the Klingon bird of prey.
But he's flying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I wasn't sure, like, okay, so for a split second there, I wasn't sure if he was actually flying or if it was some weird animation error, because neither would surprise me.
Yeah. You're very good at noticing those little things. Like the time, like, Black Arachnia didn't have a neck.
Yep. Although back in, what was it, Beast Wars Part 2, you noticed, like, the weird, like, mayhem that was, like, the back of Optimus's body as they were walking away from the camera. His
legs weren't moving, and
his legs were just, like, doing, like, the weirdest,
stretched out, and they were just, like, going straight through the earth, like, not clipping. Yeah. That was the weirdest one by far.
I was reading an interview with Bob Forward, one of the showrunners of this show, and indeed the writer of this episode. Apparently, like, when they actually started making the early episodes of Beast Wars, they hadn't actually finished creating all of their assets yet. So that's why things like that were so commonplace early on, and why, like, the backgrounds and the environments were just so plain and barren.
Yeah, makes sense too. And also there's budgeting, and there's, like, deadlines and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were coming off of that sweet reboot, like, starter pack, but everything for Beast Wars is so different.
Yeah.
That it was uncharted territory.
Well, and it seems like they developed, I don't know for sure, but it seems like they developed new tech for Beast Wars and then ended up carrying that over to Reboot.
To season
3 of Reboot.
Yeah, because, like, Reboot, for anyone listening, Mainframe Entertainment did both Reboot and Beast Wars.
Yeah.
And War Planets, Shadow Raiders in Canada. And you could see, like, Reboot, oh wow, like, this looks great. And then Beast Wars came out, and you're like, oh, this looks better. And then, like, season 3 of Reboot comes out, and you're like, this looks even better.
And then you watch Shadow Raiders, and you're like, wow.
Well, this is a thing.
Yeah. And then you watch their Spider-Man cartoon and think, like, what were they thinking?
That's something I relearn and forget. Like, every couple years. I'm like, right, like Kelly when he was on the show.
Yeah.
It was Kelly or Candace mentioned the Spider-Man.
It was Kelly, yeah.
And I was like, I always forget that even exists.
Yeah,
I'll probably
actually,
forget again soon.
so you see the animation in the mainframe Spider-Man cartoon from like 2003, and you're like, oh, someone really liked Jet Set Radio.
As somebody who really liked Jet Set Radio, I understand.
I think Neil Patrick Harris voiced Peter Parker in that show. But
I'm learning something new every day.
Erday,
How long was that show on for?
one
Couldn't
season.
have been long.
It
One
was one
season.
season of 13 episodes, I think. I think it aired on MTV.
It must have, right?
Yeah. So, Teletoon in Canada.
I'm not gonna lie. Teletoon in Canada, yeah. I don't think I watched a single episode of that. No, man, I was like watching undergrads in Clone High. I, I
Yeah,
don't think I watched it.
I was watching all of the above at the time. Anyway,
All right. Yes, yes, yes. Anyway, that's a little blast from the past.
e- even more so than this series. Cheers.
Well, this whole episode, well, haha, speaking of blasts from the past, the whole episode is just one giant. The beginning of the episode is one giant, just fight right out the gate.
Yeah.
The Klingon bird of prey opens fire at the Axelon. Cheetor and Optimus land on the ground. Boom, 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 like counter, like shoot from the ground, trying to shoot back.
Mm-hmm.
Does it seem like they can even damage the ship?
The Klingon
Ravages.
vertebrae. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No.
doesn't seem like it, huh?
No.
They need something bigger.
Yeah, the ship seems way too advanced for the weaponry that they have on hand.
Yeah, the Axelon is an explorer ship, right? So,
Yeah.
and they just have small munitions. So man, even though I just watched this, I can't remember how they take down Ravage's ship.
So inside
To
the
that though.
inside the Axelon, Rat Trap loads up with some munitions and then transforms into beast form. And then he, I mentioned this on the last podcast, but he's all like Knievel mode in order to transform.
Right.
And I'm like, really? Like Knievel mode? And like I mentioned,
What he does here is pretty impressive.
so he transforms into his like rat car mode and then uses like the dinner table and some debris and a hole in the top of the Axelon as like a ramp
Yeah.
to like launch himself up. And he transforms.
The opening that Optimus usually takes, right?
Yeah. And he transforms midair and lands on the Klingon bird of prey and pulls out like a blowtorch and starts like cutting into it.
Yeah. How do you time that? Yeah, he says some rat trap like quip like, "This rat is going cat hunting."
Yeah.
Landed on the ship. Pretty amazing.
Knievel
And
mode.
like you said, he's literally got Knievel mode. He literally has like an energon torch.
Yeah. And forces on the
turns
ground.
the autoguns online, and I'm like, Rhinox, you're like 60 seconds late on that, bro.
Yeah. To hell with autoguns, like just manual control. Like
The
take
autoguns suck.
Yeah. Rhinox, take control and just start shooting at shit. Like, come
Yeah.
on. What else are you doing?
I'm at the scene. I'm not sure how far ahead I am here, where Cheetor actually shoots Quick Strike off of Rampage. He's riding Rampage because Rampage is in his tank mode,
Yeah.
and Rampage he falls in front of him, and Rampage doesn't give a fuck, and he
It just runs
over
right
Quick
over him.
Strike.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got
would
past that, yeah.
Rampage is a problem, it seems. He's got like very heavy firepower.
Yes. I mean, he is for all intent, like, I've mentioned this previously on the show, but like he's basically Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, he can't be killed.
Yeah, he can't be
He's
killed.
very dangerous.
Yeah,
He's slow.
he's massive. Like he's massive. He's not invincible, but like basically immortal. Like you can't really destroy him. Like
Like
you
a
can.
slasher killer.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can like, immobilize him for a few minutes.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank God he can't fly. What a fucking huge pain in the butt he would be if he could actually fly.
I
But
think
he
he would.
menacingly tanks around.
I think he would basically just rule Planet Energon at that point if he could
Yeah.
fly.
I've wondered why he just hasn't like shot Megatron. Do you know what I mean? Just like shoot him and then he drops the little torture Energon's like device that he has his spark in.
Yeah,
Just shoot him.
the spark vice.
Yeah, at worst, you hurt yourself and because you shoot at your own spark,
Right.
but then Megatron's taken out.
He has to sleep sometime. Damn it.
That's true. We've seen him sleeping.
Well,
Oh, I guess he's tried that before.
Yeah, yeah. I was just about to say, like, we've seen Rampage try to take out Megatron while he was like, I don't know, shooting up heroin or something.
Yeah, that was
That was weird.
like an IV.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties. But yes, where are we
Cheers.
now? Damn it, do your job.
Rat Trap cuts a hole in the Klingon bird of prey, and then goes to beast mode, back to beast mode, and then starts like chewing on some circuitry or something. Hey, a rat's gonna do what a rat's gonna do, right?
Yeah, I think there's a back and forth in different scenes, but it's Cheetor and Optimus like doing maximum maneuvers, getting shot, hiding behind rocks, getting shot.
Yeah.
Why won't you die?
Yeah, they both get taken out at one point, and inside the Axelon, Rhinox gets told by Sentinel that shield failure is imminent, and Rhinox is like, "Well, I've had enough of this bullshit."
I love this. Like Rhinox just slowly running out of fucks to give,
Yeah,
and that's his character arc of like season 1 and season 2 and maybe into the future.
Yeah.
Is like he's gone from like this peaceful zen like meditative like monk
right.
just to like slamming more beers and kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah,
Like what is he's been grabbing people by the throat like I don't have time for your shit. Like just he's middle age is hitting him hard is what I'm trying to say.
yeah. I've to be like, I was neither here nor there on Rhinox when I was a kid watching this show. I think now he's actually one of my favorite characters.
Okay, when I was younger, my cousins and my siblings and I, Cheetor's the shit, right? Like he's the coolest.
Yeah,
And Rhinox is just kind of like boring. And he on this time watching it through, he's one of my favorites.
yeah,
For sure. And I appreciate Cheetor, but in different ways. I
Same.
appreciate the ways Cheetor grows, not the way that Cheetor is just like headstrong and
yeah. Yeah, and
courageous and dumb.
as I've mentioned before as well, like I like Optimus a lot more watching this show now as an adult.
I always thought that he had no personality.
Yeah,
Watching it now, it's a lot more subtle, right? It's like Superman or Goku or whatever, like the static hero that doesn't change, which is what I thought he was. But watching it through now, you could see that he does act a lot differently because he is in a leadership position. But you see little points where his personality like starts to come through,
Right.
like his sense of humor, his lack of patience. Like he willing like he it's a struggle for him to always do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think he sighs more times than any other character than all the other characters combined. Like I've noticed that now. I don't know if you've noticed that. Like, what was it? It was I started on the side a little side project making a Beast Wars like drinking game, and he does
Okay.
it often enough that every time
This is
Optimus
the
sighs,
this is the first we're hearing of this, folks.
yeah, one of them is every time Optimus Primal sighs, you have to take a drink. And now that I'm mindful of it, since like it's kind of been in my head, like on the side, like a little sticky note I have here.
Yeah.
Ever since I became aware of that, it's actually quite quite a lot.
Wow.
Every scene where Megatron says "Yes," but also has to say "No." Like you can't just drink from one of those, right? You'll end up plastered in 10 minutes. But in a
Right.
single scene, if he for every yes no combo, you have to take a drink. That's up there too.
Yes versus
Every
no.
time every time Dinobot like looks up into the sky is a good one.
And quotes
Even when he's
Shakespeare.
inside, even when he's inside, he'll like stop and like look up sometimes. It's a work in progress.
I feel like Dinobot is the original Velociraptor.
We need to get some Dinobot Velociraptor
We need to
memes going.
we need to remake the Velociraptor meme, but with images of
Oh,
Dinobot.
with the beast mode
Yeah, just
of
like Dinobot being
Dinobot.
like,
We could do it. There are times when he uses his talon and like like does that. So I'll
yeah,
have to comb through and look for them.
yeah,
I bet you it wouldn't take long.
yeah, still shots of Dinobot.
So yeah, like you said, Rhinox, pretty fucking cool now that I'm watching as an adult.
Yeah,
Like he shoulders so much burden too. He's like the scientist, engineer. What is he? Little bit of everything.
he's the best they got. Damn it.
Like sometimes he's in a leadership position, sometimes he's in a badass shoot everybody position.
Yeah,
Sometimes he's in a blow Waspinator into 1,000 pieces position. So the maximal shields are down.
yeah, and Rhinox has had enough of this shit and takes the elevator platform down and gets out his gats and starts firing at Rampage.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're not gonna win this one, dude. Like his guns are cool, but he's got to be like 15 feet away from you. Rampage has like a, a much broader, more explosive arsenal.
Right.
Also, it seems like he's constantly repairing himself because there are scenes in this episode as well as others where he's taken out and then he shows up like 3 minutes later.
Wait, Rampage or
Just
Rhinox?
fine. Rampage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they tango a little bit, and there's an exchange between Ravage and Tarantulas, who is apparently on Ravage's ship,
Yeah.
helping him, and he cackles to himself before pressing a comically large button. This is so weird, man.
Yeah,
Even
because
though it's like, go ahead.
yeah, because Rampage it like radios Tarantulas and is like, oh, all power to weapons, and so
Uh-huh.
apparently Tarantulas is in engineering on the Klingon bird of prey, I guess.
Yeah, someone has to be.
Yep.
Reroute all power to weapons. But the funny thing is, it's not an
Divert-
energy weapon.
Divert all auxiliary power from divert all power from auxiliary auxiliary power banks to the deflector dish.
There
That'll
you
solve any
go.
problem. Okay,
Every
so
time.
that that is a thing in Star Trek, especially Next Generation. Like, you need to fix any problem, just divert all power to the deflector dish and have like Data or Geordi explain some like nonsense about how they can modify it, and it will create a blah blah.
Used both offensively or defensively in different
Yeah,
situations.
yeah. So we might be able to, if we're able to draw power, auxiliary power from the warp core, and divert it into the deflector dish.
Oh,
we
they
can
do that.
we can modify the deflector dish using a blah 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 to create a blah blah wave that might be able to eliminate the blah blah and give us enough time to escape.
Well, why else would you have a deflector disc? So that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, though, I don't know why they're diverting all power to weapons, because the top of the ship opens up and a giant Acme rocket, like a Wile E. Coyote
Right.
rocket, bigger than the ship, comes out, like, of the top. Normally, when you drop missiles or you fire missiles, they're underneath,
Yeah.
so it doesn't malfunction and blow up your own ship. Also, Rat Trap just spent like 2 minutes like welding his way inside of the ship, and then the top just opens, which I find kind of
Also, missiles generally launch from the underside of aircraft because of gravity.
just because it's easier to drop them.
Yeah.
It needs more energy if you launch it from the top, because it means it needs to clear the aircraft first.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you can find any aircraft ever designed that has missiles that come out of the top of it, I would be like very surprised. I would buy you a 12-pack of Tim Hortons. Now,
yeah, listeners,
one-
email if you know of any type of aircraft that launches missiles from the top. Send us an email, toommuchenergon@outlook.com, or tweet at us.
that's real.
On Twitter.
You can't just
at
draw something
TooMuchEnergon.
on a napkin.
On a Tim Hortons napkin. Yeah.
So
Yeah, so
it has its own like little rockets. Yeah.
yeah, and Rat Trap drops into engineering to interrupt Tarantulas and like throws some bombs at him, and they stick to Tarantulas' hands, and Tarantulas is like, oh no.
He throws the sticky bombs onto Tarantulas' hands. It's really cool, though. This is like some Mission Impossible shit.
Yeah. Yeah, Rat Trap's even like hanging down.
Yeah, he's like hanging down by one hand. Got some presents here for you. Bug
Yeah.
face? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like sticky bombs that blow Tarantulas up, and Ravage gets out of his seat. I thought he was like playing like the Transformers movie on VHS. But no, he's piloting. Wait, so why did he turn into a cassette the end of last episode? Other than just because it's cool.
Homage.
I don't think there was a reason.
No, there
I don't
wasn't.
think there was a
Just-
reason.
Just
Yeah.
homage. Maybe it reminds him of the good old days where he could transform into a cassette and just sit in Soundwave's chest.
And you know what? Like, sit in Soundwave's chest with other friends.
Yeah.
Right?
That's like
with his homies.
that's his happy place, you know? That's where
Yeah.
he feels safe in the world.
Yeah, because it was Ravage, Rumble,
Frenzy, Laserbeak, and Ratbat.
Ratbat?
Yep.
I always forget that one. You could be making that up. I wouldn't know.
No, Ratbat was one of his later ones from like season 3 of the original Transformers cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Ravage's bird of prey is blowing up, and as the whole thing is like going up in an explosion, instead of like, I don't know, like hitting an eject button or shooting his way out of like the glass, the front of the ship, his eyes just glow red, and he like raises his fist and says, "Decepticons forever!"
And dies.
And fucking dies. And just after that really intense moment, we're met with like frames later, like seconds later, we see a scene with Rat Trap literally riding like the Planet Buster missile.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised he doesn't have a cowboy hat.
Yeehaw!
The missile off of the ship.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the
Poor Ravage. Ravage didn't deserve that.
I don't know. Didn't he though?
I
I mean,
mean,
considering how much like the previous two episodes have built him up, I will say it is kind of an unceremonious death.
that's what I meant. Not that he didn't deserve it. It's that, like, wouldn't it have been more interesting if there was a quick showdown between Ravage and Rat Trap? Because they're
Right.
both smaller Transformers. Like some sort of like skirmish or something.
I would have liked to have seen Ravage on the Ark.
That would have been pretty cool. And
Considering he would have been there originally, like
that would have been fucking weird.
like
Yeah.
conceivably, like he is in cassette mode in Soundwave's chest on the Ark right now.
Yeah, in stasis.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. I'm surprised they didn't go there.
Then Megatron the second Beast Wars Megatron and
Yep.
Savage then would have had conflicting motivations as he
Yeah.
realizes what no, they would have had the same motivations. It just seems like they both should have made it to the Ark, like you said, but maybe there's some conflict and Megatron turns on Savage. On Ravage. on Randy Savage.
Sergeant Savage and his screaming eagles.
Yeah, so rip in peace, Ravage. But the ship doesn't just blow up into smithereens. No.
When we get there later on, I do have some things to say about Megatron's plan, which I'm not saying it's bad, but I will say it does have an impact on his personal forces.
His possible existence, even?
Maybe.
It's like some Bill and Ted bullshit.
But like
if I didn't exist, how could I have come back into the future and done this at all? Right? Like it. Because we'll get into the time paradox bullshit. Like I haven't seen the next season at all. Like this is all like wacky and crazy wild territory for me. I'm actually really stoked.
So who is left of the Predacon forces at this point? We got Waspinator somewhere
right now.
So Waspinator
is in pieces.
He's
technically alive.
Yes, he is a tried and true Predacon. But
yes.
The rest of Megatron's forces at this point are Inferno, Maximal Protoform. He's going to get taken out. He's going to get taken out in the upcoming time storm.
I see, yeah. So, like if
Quick
there are
Strike,
no Maximals.
also a Maximal Protoform. He's going to get taken out in the time storm.
Yes.
Who else does Megatron have at this point?
Rampage.
Also a Maximal. I mean, he's evil.
Protoform X, yeah.
But he is a Maximal, technically.
Tarantula.
who just got blown up in the Klingon bird
Oh,
of prey.
right. Yeah, he's in.
So Megatron
Uh,
has no forces. But I mean, I guess
he doesn't
like,
need them. Damn it.
well, yeah, I guess like if he is
I-
like completely erasing the Maximals from existence, then it's like, well, I have this ship to myself. Cheers.
It's you hit weird. I'm so
I've
stoked to see.
I've longed for the day where I didn't need to live with roommates anymore. No.
Dinobot's. I. Is
He
it
would,
just him?
he would have no forces.
We'll talk about the time paradox stuff in a bit, but yeah, it's just him.
Yeah.
Hmm. There's a really weird scene. You know when like somebody sees a tree falling over and they go, "Oh my god." And they and the tree's falling over this way. And so they run in a straight line,
Oh yeah,
hoping
yeah.
to outrun the length
Instead
that
of
the item's
just
going to fall instead
diving
of
to the
just going
side.
to the side.
Yeah.
That's what this is like with Rampage. He sees the ship coming towards him and he's like, how fast could it be moving? I can outrun that. Oh, never. You know how he said, I'm surprised he's not like, has his cowboy hat and he's not yelling yeehaw. Rampage is, sorry, Rat Trap is whipping his tail around, yelling yeehaw on the missile.
Wow.
Yep, that's what he's doing. That's his tail, right? Yeah. I didn't know he could take his tail off, did you?
I knew it was one of the toy, or one of the weapons on the toy, but yeah. So yeah, so Rampage runs away from the Klingon bird of prey as it's like crashed into the ground and is like heading toward him, and he gets into this little like mini like ravine type thing. It's like a little space
where he's
between.
running out of space.
Yeah, yeah. And the ship stops, and Rampage kind of laughs, like in a very self-satisfied manner.
He just managed to get away.
Cheers. Except the missile, the aforementioned missile, fires and blows him to Kingdom Come.
Surely killing him.
Yeah. It also blows Rat Trap away, and Rat Trap is then caught by Rhinox. And Rat Trap, like, kisses Rhinox and is like, my hero.
Yeah. Comical moment.
Yeah.
The explosion was apparently brighter than the sun for a moment. That's how serious that missile was.
Yeah.
I'm just really impressed with Rat Trap right now. Like, he single-handedly, completely saved the day.
Yeah. He stopped the enemy threat.
So I take everything bad I ever said about Rat Trap back.
At least most things. Cheers.
He may be a stinking, garbage-eating, omnivorous pestilence, but he was my friend.
The whole omnivorous pestilence thing will never cease being amusing to me.
Great line.
He eats vegetables. How dare he?
Oh yeah, maybe too Predacons. That is that's like really like disgusting or unheard of.
Well, and Dinobot turns into a velociraptor, which were like, as we know, or as far as we know, we're like total carnivores. So to him, eating vegetables, being an omnivore, is just like, ugh.
Yeah, based on their like fossil records, they're like teeth. They're carnivores.
Yeah. Yeah, so So yeah, the Klingon bird of prey has been destroyed. The Maximals are all standing there, and we see Megatron fly off, and Optimus
Optimus literally points.
he's like, yeah, and Optimus is like, well, something turned that Decepticon against us, and Megatron isn't heading back to base.
Flight mode.
We've got to stop him, and he turns into Surfer Gorilla, and Cheetor transforms.
Flight mode.
Yeah, Cheetor goes
is
into
a
flight
thing.
mode as well, and Rat Trap gets on, and
This is so weird.
then Optimus says to Rhinox, he's like, Rhinox, get on. And Rhinox like weirdly like points at the edge of his surfboard and is like, huh?
Like almost like,
Really?
you serious?
And I mean, like, up to this point, we've only ever seen Optimus ride Rhinox.
Yeah. I guess Transmetal Optimus is like rocket board can support
The weight of like a
The-
4,000-pound
yeah, so it
rhinoceros.
can support like three if they're small, like three normal Maximals or Rhinox, which is
Yep.
impressive.
Yep.
It's really funny seeing Rhinox like almost like riding the front handlebars on a bike.
Yeah, that's. I was trying to figure out what that reminded me of.
Meanwhile, Rat Trap is riding Cheetor like a motorcycle.
Yeah.
It's awkward, but the only way to get all of the Maximals from point A to point B in this part of the episode.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Oh, I completely forgot
Oh, and
about Silverbolt.
so Optimus is like, gotta move fast, Maximals. If Megatron, he does this like cryptic bullshit that I was complaining about on the last podcast. Like, oh, if Megatron's found what I think he's found.
Dude, you have like a 20-minute flight. Like, just tell them.
Yeah.
Why, if they're going to know what you're talking about, like I understand him wanting to preserve the space-time continuum, but if they're
Sure.
literally going to where, maybe he wanted to confirm where Megatron was going
Right.
first.
But
It's the only thing I can think of.
we still at this point don't know exactly how Optimus even knows that the Ark is what's in that mountain, though, that they're going to.
Lucky guess?
How do you?
That's a
plan
good
for that?
point. That's a good point.
And spoiler alert: this episode doesn't explain it. How Optimus knows?
How could he possibly know? Maybe he had a hunch. Like he knows he's on Earth, right?
Yeah.
And Optimus is like a leader. Well, he's Optimus Primal. So maybe he knows that he's privy to that information that the Ark was on Earth for 4 million years, and maybe that's not common information.
You would think it would be in Cybertron history, though.
Fair, because Black Arachnia knows.
Yeah.
And she was like a few times on the show it's shown that she's a historian. She's like, remember when she explained to Scorponok and Waspinator and the gang who Starscream was?
Right.
That made, because she's like, oh duh, it's blah blah blah, the history of Cybertron. So it led me to believe that she had memories of her Maximal life and that she was some sort of historian, maybe. Or just old enough to not be dumb. Like, I always got the impression that Pterosaur and Scorponok were never very old. Do you know what I mean? Like
Or maybe they were
Dinobot's like
just dumb.
40, or they're probably just dumb. Like I got the impression like Scorponok was like 35, Pterosaur was like 25, right? Like Black Arachnia's like 35, 40, but like a lot smarter than Scorponok.
Right.
Waspinator's like 20. Like Cheetor's like the 18-year-old like intern.
Yeah.
But like you said, maybe it's not about age. It's about being dumb.
Yep. Yeah, and like even in that very episode, like Starscream tries to bullshit them, being like, "Oh, I died defending Galvatron against the giant Transformer Unicron," and later on, Black Arachnia is like, "Yeah, you're full of shit. You got destroyed by Galvatron after you betrayed him."
Yeah. Yeah, so she was very aware of
She knows her shit.
that history. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe she's special, and that's probably why she knew what was going on here. Or do you think she only knew what was going on here with the Ark because she downloaded the data from the golden disc?
I think it's because
or
of
a little
that.
bit of both. The disc.
Yeah, it's because she took the information from Megatron's computer. I think is why she knows all of this.
Right,
Yeah.
which is how Megatron knows, and Optimus Primal knows because
Reasons.
magic. There's when we cut to Silverbolt and Black Arachnia, they have like a touching moment where they're like gazing up at the stars, and Black Arachnia is actually acting effeminate, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. And he's like, see that like star twinkling in the night sky? That's actually Venus. It reminds me of you. So before I get into his quote, which is they're back and forth, which is actually funny.
I got something to point out about that.
So he is aware of the star, like he's able to identify Venus, right? Which means he has some knowledge of astronomy and Earth constellations. Keep in mind the constellations would be different on Cybertron, but what the fuck do I know, right?
Also, they would
Which
be different
means-
4 million years ago.
They'd be different 4 million years ago. And yes, maybe Venus always is a certain color and always comes out a certain time of the year, or every certain number of years.
Right.
And he by this time they already know they're on Earth, so fair enough. But it makes me wonder why like Rhinox and the other Maximals couldn't have checked astronomical records, like star charts, lining up star charts. That's a big sci-fi thing, right? And being like, well, wait a second, we're not sure what year we're on, but we must be close to Earth. Because, like you said, 4 million years is a long time, and the constellations would be different, but motherfucker knows it's Venus, so...
I have watched Stargate many times, okay? So I know that the star charts change over millions of years. And you need to adjust for, what did they call it? Stellar drift or something like that.
As all of the star systems rotate around the center of the galaxy.
Yeah.
The stars move and realign. Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah. So what I wanted to point out about this scene and what Silverbolt says about Venus reminding him of Black Arachnia. Black Arachnia is voiced by an actress named Venus Terzo.
Oh, okay, so that's not by accident.
No.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. And he goes down and he's like, it reminds me of you. The voice actress's name is Venus.
Is Venus, yes.
So it's not that Silverbolt is an astronomer. It's that they just threw that in there for her.
It can't be an accident.
It's not.
No.
Nothing is an accident.
Like, yeah, it's not a coincidence. Like, there's no way.
After Silverbolt's like, "That's Venus. It reminds me of you." Black Arachne is like, "Oh, hot, poisonous, and deadly." I'm like, "Yeah, I like it."
I've seen pictures of the lady that voices her. Eh, yeah.
Hey, we don't judge people by their physical appearance. We judge them by how hot the metallic characters they voice are.
Hey, all I was saying is that she appears like she may indeed have been hot, poisonous, and deadly. It
Could
it
still be.
it's in the text.
It's canon.
It's canon. Am I wrong? Maybe, but probably not.
It's nighttime. One thing I've always liked about the show is the progression of time.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
when it's
you've commented about that
dawn,
many times before, yeah.
yeah, when it's dawn at the beginning of the episode, it'll go into the evening and overnight, etc.
Yeah.
Good job. Which is a good contrast to Reboot, where it's like always like blue microchip, like sunny.
Yeah,
And yet it shows Bob
like
sleeping.
the sky's always like blue and cloudy with like a like hint of a circuit board pattern.
But in episode 1, it shows Bob sleeping.
Well,
Maybe that's just so that they can like rest or recharge.
in Reboot, the day and night cycle seems to be more determined by what's going on in the system as opposed to progression of time.
Oh, you mean like it's night when a GameCube falls?
Yeah, stuff like that. Or like when there's something wrong in the system, like the
When there's
sky
something wrong in the heart of mainframe.
something rotten in the heart of mainframe. The sky tends to go dark. But like when everything's kind of fine and hunky dory, it's always daytime.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah, the lighting does change a lot in that show.
Yeah.
So the Maximals have that conversation, and you were talking about Cryptic before. Cheetor, they're all flying, chasing Megatron, and Cheetor's like, "Where's he heading, Big Boss?" And Optimus Primal is like, "To the beginning of everything, Cheetor, and quite possibly the end." And I'm like, "Bruh, please fucking tell them." Like, give them some info going into this. It's kind of important, but I understand from a dramatic standpoint, they don't want to tell the viewer.
Yeah.
Because boy, was I fucking surprised.
Oh, so was I watching this in 98. Watching this in 1998 when I was 13. Like, holy shit, my mind was fucking blown.
If any listeners are unaware, I'm like, I caught it here or there when I watched it in the 90s, and I'm like going into this like completely unawares. So I don't know if anyone listening is also going into it like semi-new or whatever, but like it's weird being excited for and not knowing. Like, not, I haven't gotten any spoilers. Like, I got a Beast Machines spoiler from a comic book nerd, but whatever. It's interesting going into this and then going into Beast Machines, like as if it's like brand new.
Yes, I've been very
It's
careful
fun.
for the past few months to avoid
You
spoiling
have.
anything.
Yeah, you've been good at it.
I've gone like complete like radio silent basically on the spoilers.
It's interesting because I have a couple people I know IRL who are also revisiting them or never really watched them all through, who are also watching episode, listening to us, watching an episode, listening to us, and
Cool.
they're getting into it too, so it's cool. Where are we on the episode here? Oh,
Black
date night with Silverbolt and Black Arachnia.
Yeah, Black Arachnia and Silverbolt have entered
Bust
the
their way
cave.
in.
Yep.
I like that Silverbolt, they finally get in, they explode their way in, there's some banter, and Silverbolt looks up at it and he's like, "What is it?"
By the Matrix.
By the code.
By the code.
And he's like,
Well,
"What is
blow
it?"
me
And I'm
down.
like, "How is this not common knowledge in Cybertron, or is Silverbolt like 18? Like how does he not know what this is?"
Well, I mean, he was a protoform, and it didn't seem like he really had any memories.
Oh, right. There was some fucky business and they were
Yeah,
short circuiting and they woke up not really knowing what was going on.
yeah,
And they named themselves.
yeah.
Yeah, right, right. I mean, they all named themselves, but yeah, you're right. There was basically almost every uh, stasis pod has something go wrong with it. And then when it
Except
doesn't,
Inferno.
well, Tarantulas, the re- Tarantulas probably fucked something up when he was trying to rewrite him, but I think it's funnier just imagining that Inferno was just nuts, even as a Maximal.
Yeah, they
He was just wacky.
literally the one and only stasis pod that has landed on the planet so far without any
Perfectly.
incident. And out
And
comes just
then
this like insane madman.
I blame Tarantulas
Yeah.
because he like tried to switch the programming chip like last second, like seconds before it was like done compiling its like logic circuits or some bullshit.
Right.
But yeah, here we are as historian Black Arachnia introduces Silverbolt to the Ark.
Yep. That
And
Bowser boy, as she calls him, is
yeah, what's up with
the
that?
Ark. She puts her
The
hands
Bowser
out.
boy. I rewinded it. I was like, what did she call him? Did she call him Bowser boy? And I rewinded it, and I think that's what she calls him, and I don't know why. Is
I
he
don't know.
Bowser like? I don't know.
Bow as in like bow wow wow, because he's a dog.
Yippee yo, yippee
Bow
yay.
wow wow, yippee oh yippee yay. I don't know.
Yeah, let's go with that.
It was
And
1998. Okay, that was still kind of. That was a still fairly recent song at that point.
as when I was younger, I thought the romance parts of the show were corny. I love it in this as an adult. I love Silverbolt and Black Arachnia. I'll just
I
say it.
I still find it corny. Not gonna lie,
I
but
find it corny, but I love it.
I like it more than I liked it when I was 13.
Yeah.
Cause yeah,
So first thing I notice is as Silverbolt sweeps Black Arachnia up in his arms and like soars over to the door, it's huge. They're like 6, 7, 8 feet tall maybe, and the door is like 30 feet
Yep.
tall.
yeah,
Which I'm only noticing now.
that is worth pointing out, because up until this point we had no real sense of scale between the Maximals and Predacons and the Autobots and Decepticons, and we're about to get that even more explicitly defined. But
Oh, very much so. But the door is a good hint.
yeah, and it makes sense because like the Autobots and Decepticons turned into things like jets and trucks and cars and whatnot.
Not animals.
Whereas like the Maximals and Predacons
Big,
turn into
big
animals.
trucks. Yeah.
Yeah, turn into animals. So when they're in robot form, it makes sense. Animals that are to scale with
To scale. Yeah.
to scale with actual
To
animals.
some extent.
For the most part, I mean, like you're
Megatron's a small T-Rex.
and Tarantulas and Black Arachnia
And
are giant, and Inferno are giant
Yeah,
ass
so-
bugs.
Give or take the approximate mass of a chunky human.
But like Optimus and Rhinox and Cheetor and like they're roughly to scale.
Yeah, and the
with
things
the
that are
animals that they're
smaller,
masquerading
the
as.
things
Yeah.
that are smaller end up being a lot bigger, like Rat Trap, Scorponok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so it makes sense that the Maximals and Predacons in their robot form would probably be anywhere from like maybe 6 to 9 feet tall.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
Yeah. I guess like
So,
even robots like Rat Trap. Rat Trap's probably even shorter than that, but
yeah. So, yeah, because him and Ravage are small guys.
yeah. Yeah, and
Um
we talked about that last episode.
so Silverbolt's like, "Oh, I thought it was just a legend." So, Christopher and I were just talking about this, humming and hawing. It's such a long time ago for them that they don't even really know if like the arc on Earth was even like a thing. It's like apparently a myth or a legend.
Which is weird because like it's been established in the show to this point that the Maximals and Predacons are from Cybertron's future 300 years from now. So it's like,
Yes. Oh, it wasn't that long ago.
yeah, we like think about like history, like Earth history, like 300 years ago. Like we have like a pretty firm understanding of like things that were going on in the world 300 like in the
Oh,
1700s.
yeah, we have proof that certain people were real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not myth. Yeah.
Yeah. Napoleon, I thought he was just a myth.
There's this weird thing. I think it's kind of like the mocking like historical villains where Napoleon's
Catherine the Great, I thought she was Catherine the Fake.
they're probably people that thought the universe was created like 50 years ago just for them. Um, speaking of Napoleon, one thing that I always found funny was that Napoleon was actually like average height for the era he was in, but
Right.
like he's always depicted as being like really short,
Mm,
and people say, "Oh, blah blah blah, Napoleon syndrome," as a derogatory term for like men who are like insecure but like bossy or something.
right.
And I'm like, well, Napoleon was like a not didn't do great things, but was a military like genius. So it's
Yeah,
weird that Napoleon syndrome.
wasn't he like 5'6" or something like that?
He was 5'6",
Yeah.
when the average was like 5'5" or 5'6" at the time for men.
Yeah.
So somehow that got associated with like being like really
Un-
short and insecure.
Unless you were a Viking.
That's different. Only the strong survived up there. There's Darwinism like kept hitting them with everything it got for those Vikings.
Yeah.
So in back to the show, Black Arachnia says it's no legend, Jojo. And I'm like, is that a JoJo reference?
I've never understood that.
And the closed captions I'm watching, she says JoJo, J like capital J, lowercase o, capital J, lowercase o. And I'm like, is this a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference?
I'm looking it up.
I wonder if anybody's been able to find out what that means. You noticed that too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I am on the Transformers wiki right now.
What?
Nope, there is nothing about JoJo in the references or trivia section. Oh, wait. Oh, No, here we go. Black Arachnia refers to Silverbolt as Jojo, possibly in reference to Jojo the dog-faced boy. Was a famous Russian sideshow performer who was brought to the United States of America in 1884 by P.T. Barnum.
Jojo the dog-faced boy. Yeah, he had like an
Yes.
abnormality where he grew long hair all over his face.
He basically looked like a
Okay, that's what
Wookiee.
it is. He looks like he's a classy motherfucker, though. I
Yeah,
mean, everybody was classy as fuck back then, but
he was quite well dressed.
good for him. Wow, today I learned.
Today I learned.
It was a JoJo reference. It just wasn't the one I thought it was. Wow, so she is a historian. She watched Earth. She knows Earth history.
Also, apparently, and I can't believe I didn't pick up on this, but Rat Trap riding the missile, yelling out like a cowboy, was a homage to Doctor Strangelove.
When with
Yeah,
that's what it was. I was.
I can't
Go ahead.
believe I can't believe I didn't clue into that because I've seen that movie. It's like, and this is kind of a hot take, but like, it's one of the only Stanley Kubrick films that I actually really like.
I think it's hilarious.
It
But when I
is.
was talking about, I'm surprised Rat Trap didn't have a cowboy hat, and he was yelling like
Right,
"Yeehaw!"
right,
I was
right,
referencing. I should
right.
have been. I
I
should have been obvious
I
about that.
I can't believe I didn't pick up on it.
Yeah, I was referencing
Yeah, and
Doctor Strangelove.
now that you say that, like I'm just like dur.
Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. What was the
Doctor
faux?
Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Yes.
I was surprisingly close for not googling it.
Yeah.
But yeah, all I remember from the movie is the doctor and like stopping his arm from like saluting, and the like cowboy riding the the nuke scene.
Yeah.
I should rewatch it.
Speaking of scenes, we get a little flashback sequence as Black Arachnia is explaining the history of the Ark to Silverbolt. And I find it funny. She's like, your ancestors, the Autobots. And I'm like, you're a maximal protoform, lady.
We just spent like a whole episode of Silverbolt reminding you that you were
Right?
actually a maximal.
Right? Like, it's like they're technically like, even if you aren't aligned with the Maximals, like the Autobots are your ancestors too. It's like
She
even if I don't, like, I don't know.
she makes it a point. She's like your ancestor,
Yeah.
as if she wants to disassociate herself from Maximals.
Yeah, it's like it like a whole bunch of my lineage comes from the UK. And like, even if I don't like necessarily agree with the notion of like the British monarchy in modern society, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be like, oh, those aren't my ancestors.
No, no. I identify as Eastern European, even if my genetics, even if my ancestors aren't from there.
I'll lean into the Norwegian part of my lineage,
Yeah, emphasize that.
which is what I do anyway. So
Wasn't there like a Caucasian woman that like identified as African American or something like that in the South? It was like a
yes, she
big stink a
yeah,
few years ago.
yeah. This was back in like 2016, I think. She she was masquerading as an African American woman, and then she got found out.
Masquerading? Like
She was pretending to be African American.
But she wasn't.
No, she wasn't. But she had like fairly dark skin, just naturally. But she wasn't African American. But she was pretending.
Hitting the 10 beds a lot. Okay.
Yeah, basically. But she was pretending to be African American and was like doing. And listeners, like, I'm sorry if I'm getting this wrong. This is like completely off the top of my head. I think she was doing like a lot of like community work and stuff like that in the city that she lived in African American communities, but it got found out that she was just straight up white. And after that got found out, she started trying to identify as transracial.
That's
yeah, which just pissed off even more people.
Yeah.
And her
Man, what a time to be alive.
yeah, and her argument was basically that
she identifies as a different race.
She identifies as African American.
All of the privileges and none of the setbacks.
Yeah. That is I will leave it at that, because there is a whole can of worms there.
That's a can of worms, and like it reminds me of a South Park episode. And a lot of people poke fun of the episode on South Park where Kyle's dad like identifies as a dolphin. And a lot of people are like, oh, this is insulting to trans people, etc.
Right.
But the episode, I've noticed it, a lot of South Park is actually fairly progressive by pointing out the flaws in the people that make things like problematic or bad. Right? Like if you actually watch the episode, at the end of the episode, like Kyle's dad realizes he's a moron.
Right.
Right? And so it's one of those things where it probably wasn't to do with that, where it was probably topical at the time. Like if you go back and watch old South Park, like from a few years ago now, you're like, what? Randy has like a pot farm? Wow, I've fallen behind. So I wonder if it was commentary on that lady or not.
Could
Who
be.
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. But in Black Arachnia's history lesson in the episode, and she is definitely a historian now. She's got flashbacks and everything. We get to see like G1 nebulous. It doesn't show their faces, right? But we get to see like all the Autobots on the Ark.
Oh, I recognize some of these Autobots. Like we see Optimus Prime, we see Ratchet. So yeah, so during this flashback, we see the Autobot Ark launch, and it cuts to the bridge of the Ark, and we see Optimus Prime, G1 Optimus Prime. We see Ratchet, we see Prowl, and another character whose name I can't remember, but he has a very similar body mold to Prowl.
Yeah, he does. Is it?
I think it might be Mirage.
Is it Cup or Mirage?
Mirage. I think it might be Mirage.
Yeah, something like. Oh, it can't be Cup because he's got like the green.
Yeah.
Helmet.
Well, yeah,
like,
and Cup wasn't introduced until Transformers the movie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The thing with
I've
Transformers,
only watched a few episodes of G1, like 5 or 6.
the thing with Transformers the movie is it introduces a whole ton of new characters, but makes it seem like they're characters that have always been there.
It does a good job.
And it does a great job of that.
Yeah.
Like, most of the characters in that film are new. compared to
It
the
seems
G1
like, but it
cartoon,
seems
but they
like
but they
from the greater universe.
but they feel like they've just kind of always been there.
Yeah, so listeners, before we jump back into the episode of Beast Wars, Christopher told me like, hey, before we watch the agenda, go and check out uh just the first 3 episodes of G1. It's on Tubi,
Yeah,
tubi.tv,
just like Beast
um,
Wars.
and just like Beast Wars, and just watch like the first 3. What are they called again? The first
More Than Meets the Eye, parts 1 to
More Than
3.
Meets the Eye. And it's really just you don't need to watch them to get the gist of it through this episode, right? It's kind of self-explanatory, but it is interesting because of how weird it is. And we'll talk more about that at the end of the episode. But it was a good idea to watch those before this to get some sort of reference. It was a good idea the mountain they crashed into was hollow.
Yeah. So the Autobot Ark is being attacked by a Decepticon ship, the Nemesis, which actually wasn't known as the Nemesis in G1. It ends up being named, and this is a mild spoiler, so I apologize. This didn't really click before I started this, but like the Decepticon ship here ends up being named in this series as the Nemesis. And then that
In Beast Wars?
in Beast Wars, and then that ended up becoming like retroactively a thing, like to the point that even in the current at the time of this recording, the current War for Cybertron cartoon on Netflix refers to the Decepticon ship as the Nemesis.
Oh, okay. So it was actually Beast Wars that named that ship.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
As far as I know, I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. It For all I know, it could have been like the 1980s like Marvel Comics run of the Transformers.
When I was um when I was a young boy, my father did not take me into the city. I thought that Beast Wars was kind of like separate in a bubble,
Mm.
right? So it doesn't interact or change anything in the Transformers verse. But boy, oh boy, am I seeing that that is not the case at all now that I'm watching these.
Yeah. Yeah, like I've already said, like as someone who grew up really liking G1, uh, and then as soon as I discovered Beast Wars, like as I've mentioned before, like on the day it originally aired, um, when we get to this point and Beast Wars starts like directly connecting to G1, like it blew my fucking mind. And like
I
actually
can imagine.
and these scenes here, like actually seeing like CGI version like of the arc and like characters like Optimus Prime, Ratchet and Prowl, I was like my mind was blown.
Yeah, that must have been like crazy being a Transformers fan and watching this as it came out. I
Yeah.
mean, I love it now.
Yeah, and
What year
like
did Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, well, what year did um the Transformers wake up in canon?
84.
80. Oh, never mind. Black Arachnia says right here. So the volcano explodes in 1984, and that's when the Decepticons and Autobots woke up.
Yeah. When basically Mount St. Helens explodes. It
Is that what it's supposed to be?
that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah. It has a slight, I can't remember what it is. It has a slightly different name. It's Mount St. something. But it's basically supposed to be Mount St. Helens.
Right. When was the big cataclysmic eruption?
Well,
sometime in the 80s, right?
well, I think Mount St. Helens actually exploded in 78. 78 or 79.
Oh, okay. I just Googled it. Apparently, it exploded again in 2008. But I mean, its last eruption was in 2008, but might have been to a lesser eruption, right?
Mm.
I didn't know that. Oh yeah, it was smoking like cray. Oh, weird. Mount St. Helens has like a big volcanic like crater, but now it's like because it's active, right? Still active. It's like
Right.
growing another smaller volcano in the crater.
Interesting.
Look at that. Motherfucking National Geographic on Too Much Energy.
So, I just would like to point out first Michael Bay Transformers film comes out in 2007. 2008, a year later, Mount St. Helens explodes again. Coincidence? I think so. But maybe not.
So it's Michael Bay's fault.
Yeah, it's Michael Bay's fault.
I say that as my default like answer for like 80% of life's problems.
That it's Michael Bay's fault.
Yeah. So
Well,
apparently the arc.
well, I've run out of gas and my car won't start. It's Michael Bay's fault.
Michael Bay? Gas wouldn't be so expensive if it wasn't for all of his explosions. So Silverbolt tries to open the door, or he gets like knocked into the arc, and it's still powered.
Yep.
Electrocutes him. Because Megatron's there. He's the one that shot Silverbolt into the door. And boys, oh man, there is a scene at like 12 minutes and 1 second where like Black Arachnia is like and like making this like derpy frown face when she sees Megatron.
Oh, yeah.
That's
see it.
That's appropriate. And after he, I guess he had just like arm lasered Silverbolt, he like blows his gun, like kind of like blowing smoke from
Please. Dick laser.
his dick laser, as if he's blowing smoke from his dick laser. And he gives Black Arachnia this cheesy fucking grin before he shoots and explodes and destroys the tunnel that the Black Arachnia and Silverbolt spent all day digging through.
Yeah. And the outside, the Maximals show up, and Rat Trap's like, so what do we do? And Optimus is like, dig. And I'm like, you guys could just shoot your way in.
That's what I was wondering.
Because, like, that's literally how Silverbolt and Black Arachnia got in.
They
Like,
moved a lot of the rubble, but the last few pieces he took
just-
one of his like wing grenades and exploded it open. And Black Arachnia said something like, "Boys and their explosives."
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, it's like time is of the essence. Maybe shoot your way in. What are you afraid of, like awakening the already active volcano? Or I guess it's dormant at this point, right? No, there's lava inside. Well, what do I know? I'm not a volcano scientist.
I'm not a volcanologist.
I
I've only watched Dante's Peak. At least a dozen times. Cheers.
We were talking about South Park. I think Stan's dad is like a seismologist or something
A
like that,
seismologist, yeah.
or a geologist or something like that. A generic geologist. Not that they're generic, but I think he's got just like his bachelor's degree in.
I took a
Geology
geology
or
class in university.
Basically, no, so did I. Basically know all there is to know about the Earth.
Intro to geology. I basically am an expert now.
I know how to read those complicated pressure lines on weather maps.
My favorite takeaway from my intro to geology class was that I learned the break point between two rocks is called cleavage.
Nice.
That is like honestly that course cost me like $400 back in like 2009, and that is like my biggest takeaway from the entire class. I'm not even joking.
I liked geology.
I liked
It
it
was
too.
real.
I had a really shitty teacher, but I
Uh,
liked the I liked the text and the study-ins and all of that. But yeah, shitty teacher. He was late for class like almost every day, and it was a pretty big class, and he was clearly uncomfortable speaking in front of a group.
mm,
So his lectures were always really awkward, and like whenever people would ask questions, he would only kind of answer them, but not really. He would like give half answers. He would give half answers to the point where he would be like blah 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 blah, and people would be like, wait, but what about blah? And he would be like, uh next question. Like he was that kind of teacher. Like it was he was terrible. And I ended up actually failing that class. It's like the only university class that I've ever actually failed. Well, it's the only university class I've ever actually failed where I did all of the assignments and showed up to every class.
oh, bizarre.
Yeah,
Must have had it out for you.
well, basically what happened was he gave me half marks on almost every assignment because he didn't feel that I was giving elaborate enough of explanations for everything. And I'm like
Hmm.
I basically just like, and on one assignment I'm like I literally like wrote down everything you said and just paraphrased from that. I don't know what you want from me.
Sounds like bullshit.
Yeah. And then on the final exam, he did the exact same thing. It was like 50 questions and each was worth like 2 marks, and he gave me half marks on every single question except for the last one, which he failed me on because he was like this is wrong. And I'm like, again, this is like the last question was about something that you spoke about in one of your first lectures, and I recorded your lecture and gave my answer based on things you said.
Sounds like he just kind of hated you.
Yeah, probably.
They were like tired, old, like tenured, like professors that just kind of wanted to finally reach their pension.
Yeah.
When I was in school, like they were just like, oh, see, oh, look how stupid these kids are. Geez, you think that somebody would teach them to be less stupid? B,
You would
oh wow, this
think.
one's kind of good. A minus, and just kind of like you could tell, just were showing up for their paycheck, which is a shame. But I mean, I can understand
This guy was like
how
only
draining it can be.
at this time though, like this guy was only like in his early 40s maybe.
And he'd been doing it for 20 years.
20 years, damn it.
We need to switch to a like a Greek society where like everybody has to be in the military for a set amount of years. Then everybody has to be in politics for no, politics come later in life. Then everybody has to like take like a position in office for a number of years, dabble in like teaching, etc. And then when you like hit 40, you become teacher for 10 years, and when you hit 50, you could be a politician for 10 years. Like the ancient Greeks, like where there's just this system where everybody has to do try a little bit of everything.
Isn't that how Israel is nowadays? I could be completely wrong, but
Is it? That'd be weird, but I mean, I know that they do have mandatory military service. I mean, a lot of countries do.
yeah.
I think it's the same as Korea. It's like 2 years. Might be 4. I think it's 2.
That's probably what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Megatron shows up just out of nowhere behind Black Arachnia and Silverbolt, and he like shoots his dick laser and flies over to the Ark and goes to like touch this like what looks like kind of a green crystal, like a little control panel by the looks of it.
Some sort of
door.
like access panel.
Yeah. So he touches it and it like
And
does
it zaps him.
Yeah, it zaps him and it does this like ripple through water effect.
Like there's some sort of energy, there's some physical energy shield around it.
Yeah. And Megatron's like, "Ah, I see Teletron 1 is still active." And Teletron 1, the computer from the Ark. This is the first time we've heard
they don't
it named.
make them like they used to, apparently.
Nope. And I'll get into that a little bit later.
Oh, okay.
And
I think he like shakes Black Arachnia and he's like smacking her around and he's like, "Give me the codes."
where is
She's
she?
like, "Where is she?"
Swear to me.
You'll have to break your one rule. And he's what's happening?
I was right here.
He's like,
Who
you
did
downloaded.
Who did you leave her with?
That wasn't one of my men. This just became a Dark Knight podcast again.
Again.
But basically, he slaps and chokes Black Arachnia around. She's like, "Oh, harder, daddy," and he's like, "Okay, you're pissing me off." And she's like, "I don't give a shit." And then he realizes he can't threaten her, so he threatens Silverbolt.
Yeah. Yeah, because
he throws her on the ground.
Because she has the access codes for Teletron 1 to get into the Ark, because she stole it from Megatron's computer, like, back at the beginning of this season.
Makes me wonder why Megatron didn't download the contents of the Golden Disc into his noggin, like Black Arachnia did.
Yeah.
You'd think that would be something he would do.
Maybe he can't
didn't
do
have
that.
enough hard drive space.
Maybe he can't. Maybe she could only do that because of the like mindfuck shit that happened with Tarantulas. Maybe.
There's some weird. Yeah. There was some weird mind fuckery going on.
I'm not really basing that on anything. It's just like kind of baseless speculation, but I'm like
plot reasons.
Yeah.
But there's no reason that Megatron. I would have had to delete the entire season, the entire G1 series off my hard drive. You expected me to do that? There's no Wi-Fi on Planet Energon.
I have every episode of Ally McBeal in HD, and it is 1998, and HD MP4 files are at least 4 gigabytes each. Cheers. And I only have a 250 gigabyte hard drive,
which was massive in the late 90s.
That was massive even in like the late 2000s.
Yeah, I was gonna say like unheard of NASA territory of storage.
I remember buying a MacBook for school back in 2007 that came with an 80 gig hard drive.
Yeah, like my PS4 was.
They were 500 out of the box.
was the original.
Yeah,
Yes, and those came out what, a decade ago? Ish.
2013.
A little less than a decade. Yeah.
8 years ago now. Remember when Xbox 360s launched with a detachable 20 gig hard drive?
Oh, right, because it had no storage space in
Yeah.
the arcade version. Is that what they were called?
The original one was called the Xbox 360 Core model,
Oh,
and
okay.
and it just came with a memory card.
Wow, memory cards.
Yeah.
I can't believe that system sold. Specifically the 360. I mean, like the PS3 had its problems, and it had its giant enemy crabs being $599. But
Well,
oh
the
man, what
well,
a rough generation.
Xbox just attacked Sony's weak point for massive damage.
I guess so. You could buy an adapter that let you play HD DVDs.
Yes, you could. I've owned that drive in the past.
Remember? I think you did. Did you work at Blockbuster when we had Blu-rays and HD DVDs like starting to go up on the wall
Yep.
for rent?
Yep.
And the Blu-rays had blue cassettes, and the HD DVDs had
They were
a
red.
wine, like
They were
a
red.
reddish dark red. Yeah,
Yeah, it was like maroon. It was like
Yeah.
translucent maroon.
yeah. And I remember like standing there being like, I wonder if either or both of these is going to be anywhere in 10 years.
Well,
Placing your bets.
Well, we still got Blu-rays.
Yeah. Rip in peace HD DVD.
We hardly knew you.
Speaking of hardly knowing anyone, Megatron threatens to shoot Silverbolt. And she's like, I don't care. He was just a fuck buddy.
I could get into the like kind of technical nitty-gritty of it because I actually did a lot of research about this for a school project back in the day. But HD DVD was such a vastly inferior format in many ways.
Yeah. How
To
did
quick
that even come about?
to
Go
quick
ahead.
to quickly summarize, so Blu-ray discs were 25 gigs and used a new video codec compression method called VC1
Yeah.
that had recently been developed. Ironically enough, it was a codec that was developed by Microsoft. HD DVDs were only 15 gigs, but most of them out of the most of them like even right at launch were dual layer, so they were 30 gigs. But the movies were encoded in MPEG-2 format, which is the standard like video codec for regular DVDs. So basically what they did was they used the exact same video codec for the actual like video file that they used for plain old DVDs. They just upped the bit rate.
Oh.
Whereas with Blu-rays, bigger discs, new video codec that offers much higher quality video with better compression rates at a lower bit rate.
Now that you're saying all of these stats, like my knowledge of that subject is like nostalgia bombing me, because I used to explain that to people when I worked at Blockbuster. As you probably did.
Yeah. Well, for a while, and then eventually I was just like, I got sick of people's eyes just like glazing over.
I'd just be like, Blu-ray, pretty picture, HD DVD, less pretty, and people go, oh, ooh. And they like go over and
And then they would grab they would grab like a hammer from the ground and swing it and be like, yeah, and like smack it right into an HD DVD.
Yeah. Which is what they're good for. We got to recreate that. Do you have any HD DVDs?
I will be right back, very quickly.
Oh, Christopher's running off to go siege something. Let's guess what movie he's gonna bring back. I'm gonna say Transformers. Yeah, that was out at the time. Oh, so hey,
It's even
Christopher,
on brand, too. So for the audio
when you
listeners, I am holding up an HD DVD copy of the Michael Bay's 2007 Transformers film. And for Cal, I'm going to turn this around. Do you recognize that label, good sir?
Yeah, I do.
This is this copy that I'm holding in my hand came from Blockbuster.
When you
Oh, there we go. Blockbuster Inc.
there you go.
Yeah. So the video
Transformers
listeners.
2-disc high def.
Yeah.
16th of March 2008. So when you disappeared, okay, listeners, let's bet on what movie he's going to bring back. And I quickly thought of the movies that had come out around the time.
Right.
And I was like, oh, he's coming back with Transformers. And then sure enough, yeah.
Yep.
I couldn't think of what else you could have possibly be coming back. Can you even watch
300?
that?
300 maybe?
300, yeah. Can you even watch that?
No. I don't have an HD DVD player anymore.
It belongs in a museum.
No, at this point I just have it as a collectible basically.
Yeah.
Down at what is it? Epic Games and More. This is local talk. But local video game store, they actually have a bunch of like last time I was in there, which was probably like 6 months ago at this point, but they had like a few like boxed copies of the 360 HD DVD drives, and I've thought about like maybe buying it because they're only like $30 or something like that. But
Oh, I need to bring them my Xbox 360 and controllers. Because I stopped playing it, and
they will give
I need
you
to bring them too.
$5.
Give me $5 and sell it for 50.
Actually, more than that.
They
They give you like hardly anything on old consoles, but they still sell them for like $150.
Can't be as bad as EB Games. For anyone listening, that's GameStop in Canada.
Yeah.
GameStop is like, oh, Call of Duty from last year? We can give you $2.80 credit for it. And you like turn around and they're on the wall for like $24.99 used. And I'm like, this is a racket. You guys realize, right?
Yeah.
I poached a customer one time. I was like there, and somebody came up with like the first Assassin's Creed years and years after it came out.
Right.
And I was in EB Games, and she was there with his dad, and there was this like teenage girl bringing in like a bunch of games, and they're like, oh, well, we can give you like $1 for this, oh, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, $1? And I'm like, I will give you, and I like turned over, like it was literally 6 feet away, quickly looked for it, pulled it out, and it was like $13.99. I was like, I will give you $10 for that. And she's like, oh, okay. And like the neckbeard that like worked at the store was like, you can't exchange blah 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 like inside of like the store. And
I was gonna ask, did they throw you out for that? Because I've actually seen them do that to people before.
They did.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't give a fuck. And like the dad stayed inside and like traded the rest in, and she came out and I gave her like $10 and
Nice.
grabbed it from her. Cut out the middleman.
The most egregious like EB Games bullshit. Listeners, like, I love this episode, I swear, but we're just
We do.
We're going off on tangents. The the most egregious like EB Games like trade-in value shit that I've ever encountered was back in 2008 when Silent Hill Homecoming first came out. I bought the game, like I had pre-ordered it. And I actually got the Silent Hill movie on DVD as a pre-order bonus, which was kind of cool. But yeah, so I pre-ordered it, got it at launch. I played through it like 3 times over the course of like 2 weeks, and then went and tried to trade it in. They offered me $6.
And you bought it for $59.99.
$59.99,
tax.
like 2 weeks earlier. And I was like,
Before tax, yeah.
I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
And their used copies were probably $49.99.
They were, yeah.
I'm so familiar with their fucking their BS system that I can like just guess the prices on.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, and I said like the person who was working there, which like to be fair, like they're just drones basically. Like,
yeah.
I was like, really, $6? This game came out like 2 weeks ago, and he was like, oh well, I'm sorry, that's what the system says, and I'm like, okay, but like. What
the fuck, man?
Yeah, like
that's why I go like I just use like Facebook like game swap now.
yeah,
I'll like swap new games with other new games, or somebody will be like, hey, I have on the PS4 like I don't know, like the Spider-Man game. Someone else will be like, oh, I've got God of War. That like they'll just swap games like that because GameStop is like atrocious.
Yeah, I for the most
it's
part,
a racket.
For the most part, I basically just use a local classified app. It's called Virage Sale. It's not going to mean anything to anybody listening to this podcast because it's a local Victoria, BC thing. But
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, Virage Sale. Sweet app. I've been using it for a few years now.
Never heard of it till now. But yeah, let's
it's like
it's quit complaining about the man.
It's like Garage Sale, but with a V.
With a V. Well, anyways, we're done complaining about those games, the GameStop stonks.
So Megatron is like threatening to kill Silverbolt, and the Maximals are like starting to bust through
lifting rocks.
Yeah, lifting rocks. They're starting to get through get into the cave, and Black Arachnia is all like to Megatron like, the Maximals are coming through. You'd better get out of here.
Yeah, and like the only way to get to cover is to go inside the Ark, so I guess I'll open it.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with Silverbolt. Oh, but get away from him. Don't shoot him. We just don't have time to kill him. Meanwhile, he's like literally like his head is hovering over a lava pool. Like he could just kick him into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But obviously Megatron doesn't sees through this, but he plays along.
Yeah, so Megatron is about to kill Silverbolt, and then Black Arachnia like gives in, and she's like, "Okay, I'll open the ship, but just because we need to get to cover anyway."
Yeah.
And then she like smacks him and is like, "Now stand aside."
And she she's like, "Computer, access codes blah 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 for Teletran 1 or the Ark or something," and she like literally like the Matrix, like green zeros and ones
and
flood
where
her eyes are,
and this is before the Matrix.
Beams it.
This is before the Matrix came out. Yeah.
Well, the green binary, the zeros and ones flooding down, right?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to represent like those monitors where what is it, DOS, or I know nothing about computers, people. But yeah, like the green text, right? And she's shooting
the old monochromatic
were those monitors. The ones that were like green and black? Yeah, and she's like beaming because she like shoots light out of her eyes straight to it, and that like crystal access panel like glows green, and the rippling shield goes away, and Megatron has access to the Ark. Thanks, Black Arachnia.
And the doors open and they walk in, and the Maximals get into the cave, and Optimus is all like, "Bye, Primus! No!"
That's a good time to yell by Primus. No.
Yeah.
And Cheetor's like, whoa, it's the Ark. But he like just found out what the Ark is.
Well,
he
maybe
thought
he
it was a
learned it.
myth.
Maybe he learned about it in school.
Yeah. And there's a single gun that comes out of the Ark.
Yeah, and it starts firing
And
at them, and then we cut to inside, cut back to inside of the Ark, and Black Arachnia is like her doing her like eye laser like control thing, and
presumably controlling the turret.
yeah,
Um,
and Megatron says keep them busy, and she's like, "Oh, where are you going?" And he's like, "I have a more permanent solution." And
at this point, I'm like, Black Arachnia, stop helping him.
right. And back outside
Like, wait for him to turn his back and then stop shooting at them.
back outside the Ark, the Maximals are basically Optimus is
Being
like
dramatic.
yeah, Optimus is like we've got to get Megatron out of there. The whole future depends on it. And
Everything that ever was and will be depends on.
yeah, so they make their way toward, they transform and they make their way toward the Ark and get closer and open fire, and we see that their munitions are causing like the same like kind of ripple effect, and not that we saw earlier, and not actually causing any damage. And Rat Trap is like, "Man, this ship wasn't built, it was poured." And Optimus is like, "Die-cast construction," and then he looks at the camera and he's like, "It's a lost art." So
I liked that a lot.
the G1 Transformers toys were made, like a lot of them, especially in particular, the Optimus Prime toy was made with die-cast metal and plastic. But by this point in the mid-90s, like toys weren't made with die-cast metal anymore, just be other than
kind of toy you could throw at your brother and poke his eye out.
But yeah, I like how Optimus like even just straight up looks at the camera and is like, "It's a lost art."
Specifically Optimus. Yeah.
Yeah. And back inside the Ark, Megatron fucking monologues. We get actually a pretty
This is crazy.
we get a pretty great sequence through the Ark, and yeah, Megatron gives a monologue. Do you want to take it away?
Oh, yeah, sure. So a door opens and he goes deeper into it. Oh, this is crazy. And this is on the levels of Dinobot. He's like, now I enter these hollowed halls, a conqueror. Yes. And he activates his little hover like jets in the back as he slowly enters the bridge of the Ark.
Yeah.
So like Decepticons and Autobots are strewn around.
We
like
even see
mid combat.
We even see a close up on the face of Starscream.
On Starscream, is that Soundwave? In the
Yep,
the side?
Megatron flies over Soundwave, which, as I mentioned earlier, like I would have liked to have actually seen Ravage in the Ark. Like,
yeah, wild. And it's such a weird scene because they're huge.
yeah.
like much bigger. Like he's the size of their arm. Like they are a lot bigger, not just a little bit.
Yeah.
And he even observes Autobots and Decepticons still frozen in emergency stasis. As the camera zooms in on a couple of them, awaiting the moment 4 million years hence. And it's eerie because like this is fucking like with time and stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like oh man, I couldn't even imagine watching this in the 90s. I would have flipped out.
The ultimate risk for the ultimate prize.
When they all awaken to start the Great War.
A day of reckoning with those who made us slaves. Megatron's speech in this scene, like, top notch.
It is. So, yeah, what does he say there? Yeah, there's Soundwave.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Autobots were where the Autobots defeat the Decepticons. Thus, their descendants, the Maximals, end up ruling the Predacons. So, I feel like that's a weird move, right? Like, this is like some World War I, World War II shit. You can't defeat an uprising, right? And then rule the losers with an iron fist. Because that creates disparity again and breeds like hate and like revolution.
Well, as we're about to find out, his whole goal here is to just like straight up completely erase the Autobots and Maximals from existence.
I like that he says archaic energon guzzlers.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, like, look how big they are, bro.
And that's actually something that we'll get into more in Beast Machines, where they talk about the Great Upgrade, as I believe it's called.
Okay, so I'll save my. There we go. I saved my breath a little because I was going to ask about that.
So yeah, I can't remember the details because it's been like I watched through Beast Machines once back in like 2007, but Beast Machines does explain why the Maximals and Predacons are way smaller.
Huh. Unwilling though I was to follow my namesake's instructions, all come down to this. And like you said, the ultimate risk for the ultimate prize.
A day of reckoning.
His voice, like these voice lines delivered are so badass. I can't even impersonate them to do it justice. The day of reckoning for those who made us slaves. He says it with such spite. Such good voice acting here.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Well, and I mentioned last episode too that I think like that whole speech with Optimus and Silverbolt at the beginning of part 2 was probably the best voice acting from Gary Chalk in this show.
Good.
I think this, like that little monologue there, is probably the best voice acting from David Kaye as Megatron.
Yes, it's
like
it's pretty great. I'll rewatch just this scene. That's how much I like it.
They've definitely like upped their game.
They did. And oh man, we move from that scene back outside of the Ark, and Black Arachnia is still shooting at the Maximals with that one turret.
Yep.
And I'm like, girl, stop. Woman, please. Like, she's not even really opposed to the Maximals. She was just doing it because Megatron told her to, but she doesn't listen to Megatron. I understand it's for dramatic effect and to give the Maximals something to overcome.
Right.
But it doesn't make sense that once he left the room, she continued. You'd think she'd run, open the door, and go, you guys need to stop him.
Yeah.
I like Optimus Primal's like brilliant strategizing after they all like explode and like fly across the cave, he's like, "Focus your shots on that auto cannon." I'm like, "No shit,
You
man.
weren't doing that before?
All of them were doing that."
Yeah, so Rat Trap takes out the cannon, and that causes some blowback
Yeah.
that takes out Black Arachnia, and Optimus Primal is like, let's move.
Doesn't even make sense how they shot the turret. All they did was shoot the turret better. So like the source of conflict was a turret in that scene, and all they did was just keep shooting at it. Anyways, man, this scene where I don't know, man, this is crazy. Like when the camera like pans to Megatron inside, and he's like, "So we are now face to face, Optimus Prime."
Yep.
And indeed, in the what's the term? The commander chair, captain's chair, like it offline, like a stasis locked Optimus Prime is there, and Megatron's whole body we get to see for the first time. He's right up to Optimus Prime's face. Megatron is the size of his head.
Yeah.
Like actually the size of his head. Like they are tiny compared to the Decepticons and Autobots, which makes sense why Ravage was the same size as the Beast Wars characters.
Yeah, because he turned into a cassette tape to fit into Soundwave's chest.
Yeah. In one future, you awaken and become the great leader of the Autobots. But time shall take a different track now. I love this. He like flies back and goes, "Computer, all available power to primary weapon."
Yeah,
And I'm like, that was an option.
Yeah, he charges up the dick laser.
He holds it in front of his waist, by the way.
He sure fucking does. We're not there yet.
I knew you would notice that.
We're not there yet.
Listeners,
But
for the
yeah,
listeners,
for the listeners,
he
yeah.
charges up his slinky arm cannon. Christopher calls it his dick cannon, his flaccid dick cannon.
His dick laser.
And it goes turgid, because when he fires it, it goes, yeah, let's use the word turgid. And he charges it up, and then he holds it with his other arm. And at the camera angle, makes it look like
it's coming from his crotch.
Purple.
And it's glowing, like he's wearing a glow-in-the-dark condom, and it's actually, like, swaying around in one shot.
Yeah, in the shot after Rat Trap breaks into the arc.
So you roll your eyes at me calling it the dick laser, but they're fucking leaning into it here.
I didn't even know. I've watched this episode 3 times. I just noticed that he's holding it between his legs. I know it's the camera angle and he's just aiming it down, but...
And the fact that it's, like, swaying around, like... Oh, God.
They end up getting in by shooting the lock, and Rhinox, like, strong-manning the doors.
Yep. Some Star Trek shit. So Rhinox is basically,
he is
like...
waving it around.
Rhinox is basically, like, Worf here. Like, there are so many episodes of Next Generation where Worf is, like, trying to, like...
He's
like manually open a door that's, like, stuck. And yep, back...
you're right.
Yeah, no, there are so many episodes of Next Generation where Worf does that. And yeah, so we're back at Megatron, like waving his dick,
until you pointed it out
in Optimus Prime's face.
Now, Optimus Prime, and remember, he holds it up.
Now, Optimus Prime, time to be cock-slapped. Yes.
He holds it up in the air.
It's like swaying around.
in the memory of the Decepticons, in the glory of the Predacons, for the Cybertron that is rightfully ours. And this is kind of sad.
And mine
Go
to
ahead.
rule.
Yes. We get to
Yeah.
zoom in on Optimus Prime's face. And I'm like, man, don't do him like that. Bro. But I mean, Megatron's not a good guy.
I almost want to make this the show art for the episode.
His face? Oh, do you mean Megatron?
Megatron having, like, swaying his dick in front of him. His dick laser in front of him.
What better shot is there?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a screenshot right now. This is happening.
You cannot ignore my girl.
So yeah, he unleashes the storm of vengeance upon thee. Farewell. And then just
Okay,
busts a load right on Optimus's face.
So anyone watching, it's 1926, if you want to go to Tubi and watch Beast Wars, Tubi TV. He is holding his gun between his legs. Before I said it was the camera angle, he is... Okay, they did that on purpose. You don't aim a gun by... He's holding
like
it between his
swaying
legs.
it around, like...
It is right between his...
Fucking dick
Yeah,
laser.
it's like half turgid. Okay, you were right. I thought it was like the camera. Okay, I'm with you on this one.
So yeah, he blows his load right in Optimus Prime's face, and
Knocks his block off.
and everyone else's, cause we get that like kind of haunting like Beast Wars oh shit music that plays.
And there's
some kind of like temporal vortex starts happening.
I couldn't have worded that better. A gigantic temporal light tornado that comes out of the volcano into space.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's spreading from like the
Far into
planet,
space.
like it spreads from like the mountain, like above
It's
the
covering,
planet, like right into the solar system, like
whoa! And then the planet blows its load, and it shoots like a time wave out.
So this is causing some shit, and
Then the
starts
whole
pulling
planet disappears.
starts pulling the fucking asteroid belt and Mars toward it.
What?
Yeah.
No, that's the camera zooming out.
What? Is it?
Yeah, because the camera's
am I wrong?
zooming out, I think. Maybe? I don't know. Maybe it's pulling Mars in. Listeners, is the camera zooming out really far past the asteroid belt and Mars, or is it sucking it all in?
Why
mean,
not?
I don't know.
I think it's both.
Both.
I think it's both. Cause
And
yeah, and Optimus starts screaming, and it's all like time itself is all being destroyed. And I'm like,
all of the Maximals are screaming.
yeah. They're like
Oh.
kind of going like transparent, and
They're glitching.
Yeah, Optimus is like shifting wildly between like his various forms.
Including pre-transmetal
Yeah.
Optimus. Oh, in protoform Optimus.
Yeah.
Briefly.
And, Gorilla Man Optimus.
Gorilla Man.
And Megatron comes out and is all like, "Say goodbye to the universe, Optimus. The future has changed. Cheers. The Autobots will lose. Evil triumphs. And you no longer exist." And the screen like cuts to white and says "to be continued?" question mark, much like the end of last season.
What a romp.
This show fucking does cliffhangers. Let me tell you. Like, bravo. And I know because I remember being a child watching these and just like having like my mind like blow out the back of my head like all over onto my bedroom wall.
Yeah, you were thrill housed.
Yeah.
Man, my partner went through an era of where she stopped watching Reboot with me because she's like, and stopped watching Beast Wars. The beginning of season 2 is rough, man. Right? But holy shit, does it end strong. But she started watching the last like 1/3 of the episodes of season 2, and she was like, holy shit. And I was like, right? Same thing with season 3 of Reboot.
Right.
They both pick up, and they're both really good.
Yeah, it's why I kind of feel like it's not even worth like doing a like a standalone season recap for
Oh
season
no,
2. Like
because we got
because like one season 2 is a lot shorter than season 1, and 2, like basically the last 5 episodes, like the agenda part 1, 2, and 3, Transmutate and Code Hero are like easily the best episodes of season 2.
yeah.
I really like Aftermath. I know I like it more than you do, but the rest of that,
It's not bad.
the rest of that, like between all of that, is kind of eh.
Yeah.
The, the Alien Biodome episodes were pretty good, but other than
No,
that,
that was cool.
the rest of it, like weirdly, despite the show like being much more serialized and like everything, there being things in every single episode that kind of advance the overall plot forward. There's a lot of episodes in season 2 that kind of feel like filler.
Yeah, unnecessarily.
Yeah, it's like
Whereas remember the
it's like
Dinobot like trader one, and we were like, oh, why wasn't this like split up?
yeah.
Like I don't care about Tarantulas' lair episode.
Yeah, it's like I find the biggest problem with season 2 is like I said, like it's much more serialized than season 1. And something like there's always like a B or a C plot that happens in every single episode that kind of drives the overall plot forward that feels kind of important, but the A plot is always kind of kind of
Yeah,
throwaway when really it should be the other way around.
yes. And I feel like there were a lot of episodes that were good, but you're right, it should be the other way around. The main plot should drive the episode, and the B plot or the C plot or whatever should be in the background.
Yeah.
Like the only important part of like the Energon base episode with the arachnids, the only important part was about like Black Arachnia like breaking the link, but like keeping the knowledge for like the golden disc,
Yeah.
which was already a given. Yeah. But anyways, the agenda, part 3. Before we give it our too much energon rating, do you have any like thoughts you want to share?
No, I will save that for the ratings talk.
Oh, okay. So I guess we'll jump into our rating. Here on Too Much Energon, we have a 3-point scale. It's pretty simple. It is not enough energon for episodes that sucked. Sufficient amount of energon for episodes that are okay, and too much energon for episodes that are great. I will start. This one by itself is a very high, resounding too much energon. This episode by itself is great.
Yeah.
Even without part 1 and 2 of the agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said in the past that I've said this a few times in the past, but like I've always felt that with a lot of the multi-part episodes of Beast Wars, like part 1 ends up being the superior installment, and part 2
And
like
it teeters off.
kind of teeters off. I feel like with the Agenda trilogy, like
Oh, they get better.
they ramp up, and like
Yes.
part 3 is easily the best of the three. Gets a too
And
much
it should
energon for
ramp
me.
up. Yeah.
And it
Oh,
should ramp
same
up.
thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. 100%, like too much energon. I think this is probably one of the best episodes of the shows thus far.
It is.
This
Yeah.
episode, when we finally finish this series, few months from now, this episode will undoubtedly be in my top 10 when we
Yeah. Like
like
all of them are
rate
good
the whole
and they all
series.
fit together. Yeah,
Yeah.
when we rate everything. All of them, the Agenda part 1, 2, and 3 are good, but part 3 tells a lot of story with not that much finish. It's, man, a lot happens. Like they take out Ravage and his like starship. um a lot of people die in the show. Geez, like
We learn the history of the Autobots and how them and the
Black
Decepticons
Arachnia,
came to
yeah,
Earth.
gives us the history. gives the history. I feel like, so my partner didn't know any, like she watched G1 with me, like the first like 3, 4, or 5 episodes or something.
Right.
And she was like, she watched we watched Beast Wars, the Agenda part 1, 2, and 3 before G1, and I rewatched them with her, and she was like, "Oh, no, I feel like Beast Wars did a good job of like catching me up and like letting me know what was going on," and it does. It
does,
really
yeah,
good
yeah.
as a standalone episode. Like everything's the information is gracefully delivered in a way that feels natural, except for Optimus being cryptic as fuck. But that's for audience suspense more so than just him being a douche to the Maximals.
Yeah.
So I can forgive that.
Yeah, it's definitely to build suspense and tension, and he does it like throughout like all 3 parts of these episodes. But like, still, you're like, dude, you don't need to be cryptic. Like, just it'll be better for everyone if you just like share what you know, or at least what you suspect. Like, come on, tell your troops
Yeah.
shit, damn it.
At the very end in the time blast, was it all the OG Maximals? Rat Trap, Cheetor, Rhinox, Optimus Primal.
Well, Silverbolt was there too.
But he was already like knocked out.
Yeah,
like all of them screaming as they were like watching themselves like fade out, blink out of existence or whatever.
It's the
I think it
origi-
was the OG.
Yeah, it's the
Maximals.
original 4 that crashed on Planet Energon.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Cheers.
I like it. I'm excited. Christopher Siege. Any more notes about the Agenda Part 3?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Before we move on, listeners and watchers, because this is the season 2 finale, what we're actually going to do is next episode, we are actually recording G1 Transformers, specifically the first 3 episodes, which I think they're called More Than Meets the Eye.
Yep.
Parts 1, 2, and 3. So again, that's on Tubi, tubi.tv, that I just checked it out on. You can open it up in a browser or the app, and yeah, we're just gonna. Those are so fun. I can't wait to do that. Like, there's so many problems with them that it doesn't even matter. Like, there's a samurai duel in it. So it's wacky.
Yeah,
I
so
can't wait.
yeah. Yeah. Next week on Too Much Energon, we're not talking about Beast Wars at all. As Cal mentioned, we are going back in time 4 million years to to cover the first 3 parts of
Or are we going back to the future?
I do have a DeLorean transformer.
Oh, right.
I
You
do,
do.
actually. Listeners, there is a transformer named Gigawatt that is it's an Autobot that transforms and straight up transforms into the Back to the Future DeLorean time machine.
Yeah, specifically Doc's Back to the Future DeLorean.
Yeah, if I remember, I'll have it in frame on video on the next episode. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Cal, where can people find us?
They can find us on Facebook. You can look for groups, or just type us in the search. Too Much Energon, a Beast Wars podcast. You can also laser comb us, LAZOR, and then COMB. You can check us out on our website, www.toommuchenergon.ca. And do we want people to email us?
Yeah, too much
Yeah, why
energon
not?
at outlook.com. You can also reach out to us by commenting on this. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, you can leave a comment on there. And if you're listening to the audio format and actually want to see us, for the past few episodes, we've been recording videos. So just look for Lasercomb on YouTube. LAZORCOMB. And you can follow us on Twitter at Too Much Energon, or me personally. I mean, I manage both accounts, but
Yeah.
you can follow me personally at Lasercomb.
I have a Twitter now. It's
Oh,
got
yes, yes.
me. It's got me retweeting Christopher Siege and AP Snidler's tweets essentially. But yes, I have joined the Twitter verse. I am at the exciting Neo_Cal. So it's not hard to find me. Yeah, I'm trying out the Twitter thing, trying to figure out how it works. I'm a millennial. I can do it. Damn it.
I've had a Twitter account since 2009, and I've really only been tweeting regularly for like the past 2 weeks. So
I'll figure it out, folks.
already getting into arguments with people and the best way to promote these shows. Cheers.
That's right. I find in my head I'm picturing you having an argument that has nothing to do with Transformers, but like in the argument you're just subtly dropping references to Lasercomb Productions or Too Much Energon. You'll be like, oh well, that might be your opinion on abortion, but like on our podcast Too Much Energon, a Beast Wars podcast, we specifically talk about
Just imagine me arguing with transphobic people on Twitter, but doing a Megatron impression as I do it.
is there and is there any better mic drop than just doing Megatron impressions? No.
I think not. No.
And since I can't win arguments over the internet, I'll just leave it at that.
I will just laugh maniacally and say yes, and I will feel better about myself.
Goodbye, Optimus.
You no longer exist.
Blocked.
Block.
For some reason, I got a flashback of when Megatron specifically installed a monitor inside of that stasis pod just so he could FaceTime Optimus Primal before he died to mock him.
If you want to buy a t-shirt relating to this show or our other podcast, Alphanumeric, where we do this, but us and the aforementioned AP Snidler talk about another mainframe show from the era, Reboot. If you want to buy merch relating to either of those shows, go to tpublic.com/2-much-energon. A few people have actually done that so far, and we appreciate that.
So thank you.
Yes.
Also, the shirts are just cool.
They are, yeah. We are running out of time here.
We ran out of time a while ago.
Yeah,
It was sunny when we started.
Well, you know what they say. It's always sunny in Philadelphia.
It's always sunny in mainframe. Yep, except when a game.
I was gonna say, except when a game comes. So yeah, as we mentioned, we will be back next week. Well, not even next week. We'll be back on the next episode of Too Much Energon to talk about Transformers: More Than Meets the Eye, parts 1 to 3, and that's going to be a blast. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, me too.
I've been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I am your other host, NeoCal.
And until next time, robots in these eyes.
Yeah. Something of robots in your eyes. Yeah.
There we go.
Don't worry, we'll edit this out. I'm sure.
Oh,
Robots in the skies. Come on, get it right.
robots in designs. I don't know. I got nothing. Bye, listeners.
Robotic designs. Oh, you didn't comment on my hat.
I was wondering. Okay, I was wondering about the exclamation mark. I was like, huh. That's amazing.
Can't go a whole episode without reference.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun. Yeah. Listeners.
the underside of my hat is a.
Well,
go check us out on YouTube and you'll see what the hell I'm talking about.
the distinguished and most cultured of our listeners / viewers will recognize that straight away. So
Yeah,
no
you can't hide
explanation
from
needed.
me. No,
Except
unless you're in a box.
time paradox.